Jasmine. Warm sun on a child's hair. Puppy breath and dog paws. As you step off the airplane onto the island and you take that first quick breath and smell the richness of the soil. These are a few of my favorite scents.
Get ready for the real estate show that takes you across the barriers and into the danger zone. That Bitchin' Real Estate Podcast with your host, Tenacious T.
Welcome to Season 4 of That Bitchin' Real Estate Show. A lot of people have asked me, what is this show all about? It is about all of the rad people I have met while on this crazy road to build a legacy and a career for my son through real estate. As many of you know, almost 10 years ago, I lost my 13-year-old boy to suicide. Suicide is the second leading cause of death between the ages of 10 and 14. And as I myself found out, not only losing my son, but wanting to commit suicide many times thereafter in dealing with the grief and pain. Suicide is free will, staring back at you and asking you to choose. And in those moments of grief and sorrow and your deepest pain, when you have been ground down into the dirt, you have but to grasp something, anything, to give yourself 5 more minutes, 1 more hour, 1 more day. Because you can't give in to the choice of leaving this earth. You have to try to find joy again. And I am testimony that you can. Sometimes it would be to sit in my car, blast the music as loud as I could, and sing and cry till I got some of that pain out and I was able to handle life again. Sometimes it was the memory of my own son before he took his life and how much I would have given just to have him here. Suicide is a choice. And at times we feel like we have no choice but to make the one that causes us to leave. And that is why I built this show. This show is about all the rad people, not only that I have met, but that have overcome obstacles, that have taken themselves from a deep, dark place in their life, and they have built a life of joy again. 2020 has knocked us down over and over and over again. We feel pummeled, we feel bruised, we feel broken, and we're still having to fight what has become our new reality. And those moments of joy are few and far between, but only if you allow that to be. The simple smell of a jasmine flower, with the dog's paws as they're laying next to you. Those are tiny little bubbles, little effervescent bubbles of joy. Hold on to those moments. Music brings you joy. And for me, the most joyous times were that of a teenager going to concerts, hanging out with friends, being social, and rocking the 80s. Therefore, the title of my show, That Bitchin' Real Estate Show, because I am an 80s girl. And why not? If those were the moments that brought me joy, and I've experienced the moments that bring you down, why not find that place in between where we understand the darkness? But by understanding the darkness, we also recognize the light. And we find that light through memory, through nostalgia, through moments that did bring us joy. Now, I don't have the secret to eradicating suicide completely. But I do have the secret to finding joy. For me, it's making my son proud. I'm a girl with a GED, not even a graduate from high school. Yet I've been able to find a career in selling $10 to $15 million in sales of houses per year, developing my own show, writing my book, and continuing on the path of sharing joy, of encouraging others to make the choice to stay. Understanding suicide has been a very difficult path for me, a very difficult path for a lot of us who have lost loved ones to suicide. I was once told an analogy of what suicide could possibly be, besides just free will and making that choice. And we're going to use the example of Johnny in the cookie jar as the analogy. Little Johnny sits in the kitchen and his mother's looking at him, and in the corner of his eye he sees the cookie jar. Little Johnny's mother says, "Hi, honey, I'm going to be right back, okay? You sit there and I'll be right back, but don't touch those cookies." Well, he looks over at those cookies, and as she leaves the room, he jumps up and he puts his hand in that cookie jar and he pulls the cookie out, and as she comes around the corner, he shoves that cookie behind his back and he just stands there and looks at her. Now, if Mom would have come around the corner and caught the cookie in Johnny's hands, that would have been a different story. But in this case, as she came around the corner, the cookie is behind his back. She doesn't know that he's stuck his arm in and taken a cookie. She just came around the corner and saw her beautiful boy standing there. But in Johnny's mind, it is a transgression that was caught. He is standing there with a cookie behind his back, and he's looking at his mother, and she's staring back at him, and he is thinking, does she know I have the cookie? She knows I have the cookie. Why is she looking at me like that? She is disappointed. She knows I have the cookie. It is a missed transgression. In a moment where someone is faced with suicide, they may be thinking something as irrational as little Johnny holding the cookie behind his back and thinking that his mother knows, even though she doesn't. We all have dark thoughts. We all have moments where we wish we hadn't have thought something, or even moments where we imagine ourselves doing something. But that doesn't mean you have done it. And even if you have done something like that, even if Johnny's mother finds out that he took the cookie, Johnny's mother would much rather have him sitting there eating the cookie than taking his own life. All Johnny has to do is realize that to his mother, he is joy, and he will be able to make it past that moment. For me, that's what this show is. The moment of joy, the reward I give myself, to share the stories of others who have also been able to make it through those missed transgressions. Many of us have thought about suicide. As a matter of fact, over 17 million per year do. And in this time of hardship, it has increased substantially. Remember that one thing, that one moment. No matter what it is, we would much rather have you here. And in order to be here, you need to find a moment of joy, a moment of purpose, to give yourself the gift of expression, and to give yourself a moment listening to a story of others who have made it through the same situation.
It will be 9 years this month. And you've heard 3 stories, just 3, of overcoming. They all said, not today. Not today. I'm going to give it 5 more minutes, 1 more hour, 1 more day. Suicide, strokes, cancer. It does not choose. It does not discriminate. But we can choose. We can choose to fight. We can choose to overcome. We can choose to give it 1 more day. But making that choice is not always pretty. It's actually really difficult. It's really ugly. And it's that part of your story, the ugly part, the part where you fought the part where you think that everyone left you. It's that part of the story that we need to hear. We can't hide the ugly, because if we're hiding the ugly, how are others supposed to relate to that? How are others going to also learn how to prevail if we don't share our truth?
So in that, when I started developing this show, and like I said, I'm an 80s girl, I decided to embrace some simple questions that have turned out to be pretty much the favorite part of the interview when people are watching or even answering. I like to call them the famous questions. They came from in the actor's studio. James Lipton had a version of them that he would ask his guests that came on the show. So now I will answer those questions so that you know the girl with the GED who built a career on basically nothing and decided to start her own show 80s style. You know what she likes, and you know what her answers would be as we move forward into season 4. Here we go. So usually you have to have a base of what your favorite word is, but I'm going to leave it open for myself. My favorite word is solutionist. It's not really a word, but it is a word. It's one of those probably on Wikipedia, but serves a purpose. A solutionist is someone who can look at something and complete the puzzle, who can solve the crime, the something missing. You find the solution in everything you do. And I feel like for me, especially the last 10 years, I have been the one to find the solution for myself, to find that piece of joy. I do that in my work. I do that in my show. I am a solutionist and proud of it. What is my least favorite word? My least favorite word. I don't think I've ever even thought about my least favorite word. Now I know what it's like for you guys, my guests, as you're on the show. I think my least favorite word is hate. Can we really be capable of complete hatred? Now, there have been moments where I sat in my car and I hated myself. I hated myself for not recognizing that maybe my son was having a difficult moment. I hated myself for saying those words to my son. You cannot really hate anything, for if you hate something, that is complete darkness. And none of us are that. We can know the darkness, but as humans, we are built on light. So that is definitely my least favorite word. My turn on. That's been a hard one for me. I like to ask the question, what turns you on? To be inspired and to inspire others to get up out of bed and go about their day, no matter what they have been through and what they have done. And I can distinctly remember having to open my eyes after just barely going to sleep, after losing my son, and not wanting to, because you're hit with that pain of everything that's surrounding you. And again, in this time, we are hit with a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of unknowing, a lot of fear. So what turns me on, what keeps me going? It is you. It is my family. It is those that need to hear someone like me can go through something like that and get up and do something like this. You guys are what turns me on. What turns me off? But nothing really truly turns me off. That is a choice. And I've made the choice to live and be turned on, baby. Favorite swear word? Yeah, well, it's just such a good word. Who doesn't love that one? What is my favorite noise or sound? I think my favorite sound of all time is listening to my children. Talking, laughing, arguing, fighting. They're my children. And I guess it's because I am missing one of them that I crave that sound. Children are the epitome of innocence, of love. They are entered into this world knowing nothing but love, expecting love. So when I listen to them, I'm reminded of the person I'm supposed to be, and that is a leader, and an ambassador of joy. What is my least favorite noise or sound? Leaf blower? Barking dogs? Typical things. What profession would I have chosen if real estate and podcasting and directing and producing and all of that was not on the table? As a little girl, I wanted to be an actress. I would watch the old movies and fall in love with the lead actor and pretend to be the girl that he kissed. I always wanted to express myself through the character of others. And I guess over the years I became my own character so that I could do that. That and an attorney was the two things that I wanted to be as a little girl. So I guess in some ways I have been able to fulfill a small little part of it by doing what I do now. If I could have dinner with anyone, who would it be and why? There's a lot of people that I would have dinner with, and obviously my son would be my first choice. But I'm going to stick with a famous celebrity or person that I would have dinner with. Oh boy, that is a hard one. Elvis has always intrigued me in many, many ways. He was a twin, lost his twin brother, lost his mother in the middle of his career, and was kind of thrown into a situation that suffocated him in many ways. But he was extremely talented, charismatic. It was the way that he could walk into a room and didn't really have to do anything. Yet he had magic. And I think really all I'd want to do is sit with him and ask him, if this was all taken away, what would you have done with your life? It's picking the brains of the people that have been most influential in our world when it comes to music. Because music for me is my saving grace. That is one person that I would love to have dinner with. And it would probably be a steakhouse, because that's what he liked. So as we move forward into season 4, and I try to bring you guys up out of that dark place, I will do my best to fill you with humor, fill you with joy, bring amazing inspirational stories here, and help you to overcome. This is Kimberly Tocco, Tenacious T. Out.
If you need me to change, then I'm gone. I've been on the fence for too long. I'ma do me. You could try to talk like I am not living my best life. If you want me to change, then I'm gone. I've been on the fence for too long. I'ma do me. You could try to talk like I am not living my best life. You been trying to gun me down, killing on my damn life. Rather see me suffer than die, so you can feel your appetite. Yeah, go ahead and fill it up. Do you hear that sound? Say that my heart broken. Can you fix me now? You never gonna change me. Been through the girl like ain't no other. When the shit gets tough, it'll make you better. Like let it break you in, break you in. Take it to a level that you thought you never see again. I've been on my way. Take it to a place, to a place, to a place, to a place. You been talking tons of shit, never really made sense. I was young, I was young, I was done. Tryna get it, tryna act hella strong, hella strong. Tryna act hella strong.